Hello, I'm Reed Cherner. I'm here with USA Today college football editor Eric Smith. We'll be talking about the college football poll because before you know it, we'll be clearing our Saturdays just to watch college football. Eric, let me run down the top 10 for everyone. Get your pencils ready. Alabama, Ohio State. Florida is 3, followed by Texas, Boise State, Virginia Tech. TCU is 7, Oklahoma is 8, Nebraska is 9, Iowa is 10. That's the top 10. But Eric, I want to ask you about the top 2 because Alabama and Ohio State got 59 of 59 votes, with Alabama getting 55 first-place votes.
I think it's pretty clear, Alabama's a team that, at the end of last year was a national champion. They went undefeated. They had an undefeated regular season in 2008. I mean, they have shown the last 2 seasons, they're one of the best in college football. And now that you look at their team, they have almost all their offensive weapons coming back. I mean, it looks like a stacked team. So I can see the sense of people going, okay, let's put Alabama number 1. And I do like the support for Ohio State. I think they have an excellent team. They too were, had an excellent bowl game with Terrell Pryor playing well in the Rose Bowl against Oregon. So I think those 2 teams maybe have separated themselves, and maybe Alabama is a step ahead of them right now.
When you vote the way people have voted, it's going to be hard to get Alabama and Ohio State out of there. But the 2 teams that are in our poll that have always had trouble moving up and are actually pretty high this year, one is Boise State, they're at 5. The other is TCU at 7. They're not traditional teams that we have high in this poll.
I think this is a progression of these non-automatic qualifying schools playing in BCS games and winning. And you saw both those teams go undefeated last year, play each other in the Fiesta Bowl. And I think they've established the credibility now to be there with those top 10 teams. And certainly in a case of like Boise State, they returned 21 starters. So you're looking at a team that potentially is in position with an opener against Virginia Tech, a high-ranked team, which is going to be on national TV on Labor Day, that they're really in a position now not to talk about BCS game, but to talk legitimately about national championship game.
Which is sort of the first time. However, they're surrounded. We talked about Alabama and Ohio State, but these 2 guys are also surrounded by teams like Texas, Florida, you mentioned Virginia Tech, Oklahoma is a little bit below them. These teams that if they show anything could blow by everybody in the poll.
I think so. I mean, I think that's, Oklahoma and Texas are going to play each other. We know that. We know Alabama and Florida are going to play each other in the regular season and maybe even potentially in the SEC championship game. So, Boise State can run the table, but are they going to be good enough if 2 other teams go undefeated? Probably not. What will happen is, I think when we look at this poll, Alabama has to play Florida in the regular season, like I said, and they also potentially in the SEC championship game. If they lose one of those games, or maybe they split, and then you've got a host of other teams that could potentially lose. Then you're looking at maybe an undefeated Boise with a chance because there's going to be a lot of one-loss teams. And I don't think that the field is as strong this year as in the past where we can just write down Alabama, Ohio State, even though they've gotten the votes to indicate they're maybe head and shoulders above. I don't think on the field they're necessarily going to be head and shoulders above because Alabama's got some questions on defense. Ohio State has some questions potentially on defense and maybe a little bit on offense with Pryor. A tough schedule where they have road games against Iowa and Wisconsin. So I think it's a pretty fluid situation, and I think it makes for a great season.
The other thing is you know better than I do, people don't want to just say, my team is the best team. My team is the best team, and my conference is the best conference.
Sure.
So just taking a quick look at it, how does it break down conference-wise for you?
Well, I mean, I think you have Alabama and Florida, so the SEC has obviously won the last 3 championships. So we're looking at a situation where, they are the established team. But I think the Big Ten really has a chance to make a move this year with, like I said, Ohio State, but also Iowa and Wisconsin, which are 2 teams that both have double-digit win seasons, both have a lot of starters returning. They are very credible now, and they will put themselves in the mix, as they sort of, figure out their conference. One of those teams might be in position. And like I said, if somebody can run the table in the Big Ten, you're going to have a case where they have beaten some good teams, and like you said, blow past some other teams. So I think those are the 2 conferences right now. The Big 12 is looking pretty solid with obviously Oklahoma, Texas, and Nebraska in the top 10. But I have questions about maybe all 3 of those teams. Less questions maybe about Iowa and Wisconsin than those. I mean, I think it will be an interesting shakeout to the season. When you talk about Iowa and Wisconsin, they're more solid at quarterback positions and such. So those three conferences, and then maybe the rest. We've certainly seen the Pac-10 is down. We don't have USC in the poll, partly because of probation. We don't know where they would be, but they're certainly going to, I think, on the field be a step back. And Oregon is right now maybe the favorite in the league, but they're sort of playing catch up.
A lot of these teams are also going to have Heisman Trophy candidates.
Sure.
But I guess what I'm asking you is, Ohio State seems to have a quarterback now in Pryor who
Right.
hopefully has grown into it. You mentioned Texas, and Florida is another one that has left one of the greatest players there. So are there, I guess, teams who have quarterbacks besides Texas that you're going to say, I need to watch them 3 or 4 games and see if they can replace these guys?
Well, I mean, obviously, Florida, we didn't really touch on them a lot, but with John Brantley, it's going to be a transformation for the offense. And Tebow was not just a great player, but he was so key in converting third downs. I mean, they're not going to have that running option at quarterback. And how will they get it done? And obviously, Urban Meyer's health situation, there's a lot of unsettledness there. Now, you talk about Heisman. You got Mark Ingram at the top. He's the returner, but I think Pryor certainly has a better chance maybe as the guy at Ohio State, where Ingram is a great player, but he's got a lot of people surrounding him. He's got Trent Richardson as his backup. He's got Julio Jones. And while the team will be really successful, I think you have to look at Pryor as the guy right now maybe who has a slight edge, just because all the plays are going to go through Pryor. And he has the ability to make those highlight reel plays that are so useful when it comes to Heisman voting time. Okay,
great. The voting's done. All we have to do is play the games. But for every week, to get your college football news, go to Campus Rivalry, which Eric is the editor. I'm Reed Turner. This is Eric Smith, and we are out.